Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
Child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Okay, so imagine you have a society where everybody is happy with their culture and everybody understands their culture. There are certain rules that apply to everybody in that culture. And new people come from another country to immigrate into this country. And it's okay because just like all the immigrants that have come here in the past, the new people coming here are coming here to become Americans. They want to start over. They want to live the American dream and have an equal chance, or hopefully close to equal chance, a better chance, to aspire to reach their goals, to be successful, to have an education perhaps, or just be free to go from place to place and not have certain expectations put on them. We've had immigrants come to this country successfully for hundreds of years, and it's added to this country. It's added to our culture. And yes, there's a culture here. There's a culture in all Western societies. And that culture is valuable to us. It matters to us. We would want to defend it and keep it and preserve it. It's part of us. It's part of who we are. It resonates inside us. So when new immigrants come here, it's fine, but there are certain expectations that we have. The new people that are coming here to be Americans are going to adapt, right? They're going to do everything they can to adapt to this culture, to Western culture, to American culture. Yes, they will have their own flavor of it, but it's subtle. It's not overwhelming the culture that's established. It's subtle. I see Japanese people walking down the street and they might have a Japanese umbrella, or they might be wearing a Japanese style hat, you know, but they're still, they look like the rest of us. They're dressed like Americans. They have the same desires and appreciations for things. They pretty much are just us, but they might have slightly different ways that they dress. It's not very, it's just, you know, they're hanging on to their culture, but they're incorporating it in with Western culture, so it fits, so it all merges together. That's what America is. It's the big melting pot with all these cultures coming together to make America strong, you know. And we have differences here, we have versatility here. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us great, our differences. What I don't like about Muslim immigrants, immigrants that are of the Islamic faith, now it's kind of a confusing jumble here. I get from, anytime I criticize Islam, I often get the argument, well, that's not Islam, that's the culture. Okay. And then when you criticize a woman for being decked out head to foot in clothing, they say, well, I'm doing this to please my God. So, okay, you told me it's the culture, but now you're saying it's the religion. Or when somebody is decked out head to foot and they walk into a store and the store owner gets a little nervous because their surveillance camera isn't going to show who they are if they decide to shoplift or something. There's no way to identify this person if they decide to shoplift in the store, and they go back and look at the surveillance camera. They're not going to see a face. And so this person coming in decked out head to foot with fabric, you know, the shop owner might say, if you can't show your face, you have to leave the store. Oh, but I can't because my religion says. It's very upsetting to me, the very idea that I should have to uncover my face. This is my religion. Okay, except just the other day you told me that it was your culture that makes you dress this way. Oh, no, it's not my religion. It's my culture. So there's a huge contradiction there. It's like we blame it on the fact that it's culture up until we want to not have to take the veil off, and then suddenly it's very important to us, it's our religion, and we can't take the veil off. Well, you know, there are places in the world where people can dress like they live in the Middle East, and it fits in because that's the culture. But here and in other Western countries, this isn't the Middle East, and this is not the culture. Your Middle Eastern culture isn't here. This is not the culture we have here. And you're not adapting to our culture, nor are you making any attempts to adapt to our culture. In fact, you try to put all this pressure on people already existing, already adapted to Western culture. You're putting pressure on us to modify ourselves, to accept you, the unmodified person, the person who refuses to adapt. We're supposed to do all the heavy work. We're supposed to adapt to you. We're supposed to change the menus at schools so that certain food items won't offend Muslim students. Employers in Western companies are supposed to have a prayer room for Muslim employees, or allow Muslim employees to not dress according to the dress code while everybody else still has to. You want special privileges. You don't want to have to adapt. You want to continue to live your little culture that you left, that apparently you didn't really want to leave because you're still clinging to it here in America. You want to insert the Middle Eastern culture right here in the middle of Western civilization. And you expect people from Western civilization who have adapted to this culture to modify, to do all the changing, to do all the work. And if they are resentful, and if they get angry, and if they're made uncomfortable, then you call them names. And you say they're bad people because they refuse to modify and adapt to you, because you do not do the same thing. You do not give them the same courtesy. You do not adapt. You expect everybody else to adapt to you. We want Sharia law. We want Allah's law in the West, in Western society. No, if you want Sharia law where, you know, there's commands that people get flogged or maimed or beheaded or whatever for stupid reasons, go to the Middle East, to Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, where they have those kind of laws. And, you know, if you think they're so wonderful, go live in countries that have Sharia law. But no, those Sharia law does not belong in Western society, and hopefully it never will be in Western society. And I feel really bad for people in Europe, because certain places in Europe, Sharia law has somehow gotten there. I mean, it's like, that's disgusting that some people living in Western societies are under the thumb of this barbaric law that has such glaring double standards toward women and anybody who can't believe anymore. You know, you're a Muslim and suddenly you can't believe anymore because something happened to make you realize it's a bunch of bullshit. You know, you could lose your life. Oh, but it's such a wonderful law. It's Allah's will. We want it everywhere. We want it to cover the earth. Well, you know what? It doesn't belong in Western society. And your culture, you know, if you want to have little trappings of your culture here in America, that's fine. We have had no problem with other immigrants doing that. But you don't even try to adapt. Well, the men do, but you know, if you look in the Middle East, most of the men walk around looking perfectly Western too. I had one guy tell me, well, the men also have rules. They also have to cover up. They can't have shorts that are shorter than their knees. Oh my gosh, the horror. I can't even imagine living under such a strict rule. Those poor men. Meanwhile, the women, some places, have to walk around and only one eye is showing and everything else is fabric all the way to the ground. You want that here in America, and you want Americans who are used to seeing free, moving, spirited women who aren't ashamed of their bodies and don't think they have to cover themselves head to foot to be modest. You want us to adapt. You want us to change. And you get angry and upset and you make up words like Islamophobia when we don't change, because we shouldn't have to change. Why should we change? This is our culture. This is our established norm. And you are coming here expected to fit in and adapt and become Americans. So adapt. Or just go back where your culture that you seem to love so much that you can't let go is where it belongs, where it fits in. Because it doesn't belong here. This is where American culture is. This is where Western culture is. And if it is just culture, you certainly should be able to slowly wean yourself off all that stuff and start dressing like an American. If it isn't culture and it is religion, well, I'm sorry, but even Christians don't try to force Christianity on people as much as Muslims force Islam on people. I can't take off my veil so your cameras can see me as I steal all your stuff because my religion won't let me. Oh, I can't get my driver's license taken with my veil off because my religion won't let me. I'm going to have my children grow up thinking that little girls have to dress this way or they're whores. In the middle of the United States, we're going to raise little girls to think this way. In the middle of the United States, we're going to raise little boys to think that a proper woman has to dress head to foot in fabric, otherwise she's a whore and it's okay to rape her. No, these teachings are not acceptable in this country. We worked very hard in this country to obtain something close to equality for women here. And I think it's really awful for little girls to see this other culture where women are given double standards and have to live under oppressive, demeaning double standards. And I'm sorry, anything that makes you cover yourself head to foot in fabric with just one eye showing is demeaning. Anyway, I guess this was a rant. I get tired of all the attention put on the people that already exist in the culture and have adapted to it to change, to satisfy these people coming into this country who refuse to change and refuse to adapt. I don't think that's fair. And then people wonder why people, and then Muslims wonder why people feel hostile and resentful toward them. Well, I think that's why. Anyway, just felt kind of grumpy and wanted to say what I think. If you've been watching, thanks.